Good afternoon, everybody. If it is echoey, I apologize, and I've explained this in my recorded videos umpteen bazillion times. We recently moved. My area has not been set up because the focus has been getting things for my stepsons. We recently got custody of them, and so my office slash YouTube studio is just going on hold in terms of getting it all together. Anyway, I hope you are having a good day. Um, I I am. My day is going pretty well so far. And let me see, I was going to share this to make sure a picture of summer is on screen as well. Okay, so I do have the TBI below me to be able to call as well as the Amber Alert. And I also have resources for Tennessee underneath scrolling along that if anybody has been in an abusive relationship or is in an abusive relationship of some sort, that there is some information for you. And I know this case is highly, 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 highly emotional on so many levels. And I have so many thoughts and opinions, and that's what we're really covering. And I'm just working on figuring out my thoughts and feelings about all of it. And so I have kind of some notes sketched out, but I don't have things written in a particular order. Hey, Jane Ann, how are you doing, sweetie? So if I kind of jump around from topic to topic, now you know why, because I just don't have like a full, fleshed out plan, just things that I wanted to cover. And first of all, I did want to say again how emotional this is. And I understand, and I think it's emotional for so many different reasons. And then I wanted to address a little bit about okay, this past week, I don't know about you, but I became extremely angry and disgusted and angry again because, I was really trying to, I guess, not give Candace a pass, but be understanding that she's in an abusive relationship and kind of, give her a little bit of grace, give her a little bit of space, that sort of thing. But I can no longer look at it in that way after that phone call that was made to Mary this past week. And I just really, I mean, I felt physically ill. I don't know about you, but I just felt so ill listening to it. And I mean, it was hard to hear her, hard to understand what Candace was saying, because from my understanding, and I could be wrong, so I'm going to say this is my opinion based on what I've heard. And as we know, there's just like rumors flying all over the place with all of this. And I'm trying to stick with facts, but it also, my opinions slip in there based on things that I've heard, and I don't want to say anything's 100% truthful. So I'm just going to say my opinions. But she did sound completely and utterly wasted. And so it was really hard to hear her. And knowing that that was all, hey, AJ, a hoax, it's like, how in the world could anyone who has a missing child make the decision that it's a good idea to play this kind of hoax? I mean, come on. We've all played pranks on people throughout our lives, right? I mean, just being silly. This is not the time to do any of that. So, any kind of grace that I was permitting Candace in my own mind has been eliminated because I cannot find forgiveness in myself at this moment in time of her being complicit with this entire thing. It's just utterly, utterly, utterly disgusting. Sky, I know what you're talking about, the disappearance as a hoax. And I thought about that. And let me give you my opinion because I've been thinking, I think on the surface for me, that's like, okay, that sounds kind of good. But here's the thing, that's giving those people a heck of a lot of credit to be able to pull off this massive hoax, because how would they know that this would be picked up in social media the way it has been? or that there would be that many people that, came together initially for the searches and all of that and have that much focus on it. I don't think that they would have been able to predict that, you know? And yeah, my own theories, like my thoughts and opinions, Sky, change also. Like, I mean, as often as I change underwear, it's like all the time. It's like I'm thinking one thing and then it's another. And I think that's what is so incredibly frustrating about this case is that we're all over the place. And I think Candace and Dawn are sitting back enjoying the fact that people are all over the place because I think they are sick, twisted, and deranged human beings. And I don't know if they can be saved. I think at some point, some people just can't be. And that's why I gave Candace grace initially. I really did in my mind because knowing from my own past experience of how I grew up, of what my mother went through, of being with a very controlled person. And I watched Don, and he reminds me so much of my stepfather because there's always like these two faces. That one face of Don of how he's like, oh, he's just such the religious guy, which I've never bought for a second. It's like, please, really? That's what you're selling? Go peddle them papers on a different street corner because I ain't buying it. Just not. And then there's the other side that we heard when he had called Mary. This was the call that he made to Mary, or Mary called him. I'm sorry. Mary called him to say that Jeannie was going to basically turn him in. In that call where he was just basically cussing Jeannie out and blaming her and all of that. So it's like those two faces, one that's really nice, that public persona, and then the jerk, the a-hole, the true self of who he is, in private. And it's like when I juxtaposed the calls from this week, I'm like, okay, I'm done trying to think that either of these people are savable, redeemable, or anything. I just don't think they are. And I don't like that I have that opinion because I always want to try to find goodness in people. And I always think about this too, is anyone who is, you consider quote unquote evil. And the person that I always go to in my mind as one of the most evil people I can think of is Charles Manson. But at one point, Charles Manson was a little baby. At one point, Don Wells was a little baby. At one point, Candace Wells, whatever she wants to go by, was a little baby, completely innocent. And then something happened to them. Now, I think they both were in abusive situations as children, but at some point, as an adult, you got to own your actions. And you have an opportunity to make choices. My opinion. So I no longer can just think that they have any kind of redemption in them. I just think of them as next level evil because of this hoax. I just can't believe anyone would do while their baby is missing. Now, potentially, possibly, they know where she is or whatever, because none of us know really what happened. We know what we've quote unquote been told, and I don't believe a damn thing that comes out of Canduses or Dawn's mouth ever. Not anymore. Not after this quote hoax. Okay, Sky says they're environment drugs and not accepting responsibility for their actions. Exactly. Yep. I just can't with them, I just absolutely can't because they have been victimizing people for many, many years. And what I'm kind of wondering with that hoax thing that they pulled, what do you think the people in the church think about that? I mean, Don sure made one hell of a show about, we just want to be around good people and we go to church and blah, 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 blah. Big old bucket of hooey. He was completely faking it. That mask that he was wearing dropped. It completely dropped. And I feel bad for anyone, and I am not a church-going person, so that you know. I'm an atheist, but I also have a minor in theology, and I've studied religions, and I have a master's in anthropology, so I've studied all kinds of things. But I'm imagining, like Robin or anyone else within that church, if they have heard about this hoax, how disgusted they would be, especially if they have volunteered their time to help this family in any way. Because it seems to me as if Dawn and Candace like just don't want any kind of help whatsoever. They're just content to wallow in their filth and in their addictions. And they just, it's like they've lost all of their kids, those three boys. And this is something that I do want to discuss because my concern is, or one of them, because I have many when it comes to this, is all of their children had observations in that home. And just from what we have seen, it's it's horrific. It is absolutely horrifying to look at where they were raised. Now, given what I've studied in the course of my lifetime, I realized that people live differently and that we have subcultures and everything. And I think this area definitely there's, subcultures within subcultures within subcultures. However, I mean, plywood as your floor, come on. Dawn actually knows how to build stuff. I mean, you can see those cinder blocks put together. It's like, okay, there's some skill doing that, but it's almost like he half-asses it when it comes to their home. And it's like, that's your home, dude. And you can't follow through on that. Just wow. I mean, that whole mess, and it is a mess. I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting because, they've had time since those boys have been taken to like, straighten up and fly right, so to speak. And what have they done? They've played games. It is the house of games, which, by the way, if you have not watched that movie, it's one of my favorite older movies. It's really good. It's all about a psychologist, or is she a psychiatrist? She's one of them who studies con men, and then how she gets, kind of like caught up in all of that. So it's really interesting. Oh, thank you, AJ. Anyway, so they have not taken any kind of responsibility at all. And I think I mean, I, I I look at this and I'm like, my gosh, how can you keep on behaving in this way? Because I can't just go into the whole thing of like, oh, you've had a hard life, you've been mistreated, you've had this, because I want to look at that on people, but I just can't with them anymore. And one of the things that has also bothered me this week is there were some panel on the channel, and I don't even know, doesn't matter what channel, but some people were saying how they didn't think that SA needed to be on YouTube, and they seemed to be just really butthurt over all that, not saying that it's not important and all this crap. I don't remember all what they said, but that irritated the stink out of me. I am a survivor of SA, if you didn't know that about me, but I am. And I will say this about Jeannie coming out, about Mary talking about all these other people who have been victims of Dawn. I applaud them because it takes gonads to do that. Myself, I had no idea what happened to me until one day I saw something in the paper when I was in my early 20s, and I just kind of like freaked out. My boyfriend had to call my mom because I just like didn't recognize anything when all the memories came flooding back to me. To me, for these people to bring it out and talk about it, because it does impact what happened to Summer. It does impact those boys because it can bring awareness overall to SA. It can bring awareness of what happens generationally. It brings awareness to Dawn's background, which is highly important, as is Canduce's. Everyone's background and how they were raised, I think, helps to shine a light on what could have happened and how it could have happened, and possibly why it happened. And right now, we have a big old zero because we just don't know. I mean, we're all sitting around. I mean, there's theories flying all over the place, all kinds of things that I've seen. And, they often sound so good, as in, wow, that sounds kind of, interesting, plausible. But then I have to think of this. This is real life. This is not a novel. It's not a movie. So all of these things sound fantastical, when I think it's probably something much simpler. And that's why I go to, although based on the hoax this week, I can understand people thinking like, well, maybe the whole thing is just a hoax. I go back to, I just don't think they're smart enough to be able to pull that off. I really, really don't. But I do think they have lost all kinds of credibility. And if they thought they were somehow going to make a deal somewhere with someone, puppy, please. I mean, just wow. Just wow. Now, when you look at Dawn's past, some of the things that I have heard is, and I can't remember if this was from Chris McDonough's interview or not, because I've watched so much stuff. So if I don't remember, please give me a little bit of forgiveness. But I remember hearing that Dawn started a fire in like a barn or something with animals when he was very young. So we know he did that. We know that he was around pornography at a young age. We know that he started abusive behavior towards Jeannie when she was, 5. And we don't know about, like other people, like what could have happened before then. And we don't know exactly what happened to him and what he was exposed to. But, I'd bet you dollars to donuts that he was exposed to something and went through something himself. But I'm not excusing his behavior based on that. And I really wish that, he could get some help, but I just don't think that he's able to get past any of this. I have found Chris Madonna. I'm not going to say it. I cannot say his last name. Anyway, from the interview room. I have found his interviews to be very, very insightful, incredibly invaluable. And I know there are some other channels who are also former policemen that, have had issues with it. But I have really appreciated just from everything that he has done. Initially, when he was talking about the whole abduction thing, it kind of irritated me because I'm like, I mean, I think it would take someone that like to be completely oblivious to not think about like, abduction just doesn't make sense given where this house is, how remote it is, and all the stinking dogs there. Or just everything's like it would take a lot for anybody to just kind of sneak on up there. Just that to me makes no sense. But I appreciate how he went over that detail by detail, because to me, that just helps solidify how absolutely ridiculous it is to think that, some stranger or even someone, a neighbor or whoever, came on up there and, took Summer away in these quote 2 minutes, which when Candace says 2 minutes, I do not take it as literally 2 minutes. Because I don't know about you, but I might say, oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And 5 minutes might be a half an hour. I mean, it's like kind of like more of a saying than reality, if that makes sense. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I know I do. So I kind of look at her 2 minutes as not real. Maybe 2 minutes for her was 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know, but I don't take it as literal 2 minutes. But I do not think whatever that time actually was enough for somebody to come on up there and sneakily take Summer away. That to me it doesn't smell right. That it just doesn't pass my sniff test, I don't know about you guys, but it just doesn't me. But the thing that I really think about, I do want to say this. Okay. There are a few channels. Now, I don't know if you guys have followed the Chris Watts case or not. My content typically is anti-multi-level marketing. That's what I do on my channel, along with some true crime and some like other scammy type things. And I made a number of videos on the Watts case because the thing that I was seeing missing, glaringly missing from true crime channels, except for True Crime Rocket Science, and even Nick did not fully cover a lot of things because he didn't have the expertise. So how can you cover all of it when you don't have the expertise? So I looked at a number of things that was going on with the Watts case, but I kind of layered on top of it the multi-level marketing aspect and how that can influence people and change people and manipulate people, because I think that's very important to understand. Well, a lot of people are involved in the Watts case when it comes to, YouTube, but there are certain creators, in my opinion, that have really tried to leverage that. Um, I would say for the views and stuff. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people be like, oh, people are just making money off of this, blah, 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 this, true crime stuff. Let me tell you, um, you don't make that much money off of the views and stuff, even if you're monetized and you're having, ads. It really depends on if you have, massive views on a single video and, what your CPM is and all of that. And so when I see that people bitching about that on my MLM, anti-MLM videos and stuff, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, obviously, you know nothing about how this works. But the thing that I will say, there is this pair, this duo, that they were really doing a lot of Watt stuff. But it really wasn't until Summer Wells that because they have both of their channels have grown exponentially, more than doubled. And there's been interviews with Dawn. So, if you know all of that, then you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to mention them because I just don't want to give air to them. And I just am thinking, they really seem to be doing things, in my opinion, because they're trying to get that presence. And I mean, because when you look at their video descriptions, there's link after link after link. I mean, heck, they're even trying to get money for their stinking wedding. Let me tell you, my husband and I, we went to Vegas and got married. It didn't cost that much money. There's no reason anybody should be donating to a GoFundMe for a wedding. I mean, please, you can just go down to the Justice of Peace and get married. Please. It just, that annoys me. But there's like link after link after link and merch, all this stuff that, in my opinion, they seem to really, and they get a lot on their live streams. People are always donating the money. And you know what? Donate your money to whoever you want to. I don't care. But I just see what they're doing, and I'm just like horrified and disgusted. And what annoys me is that good people are probably giving them money. But I will say this also in terms of, Dawn being on that channel and being interviewed. And there's another channel too that had also interviewed him and then kind of like had flip-flopped. I don't think they're doing it for the right reason. I just don't, It just, something about it doesn't feel right. And I don't know about you, but I trust my gut. And I watch this and I'm like, oh my gosh, do people literally not see what's going on? Because if you are going to do anything about any case, give some original insight, Talk about what your thoughts and opinions are. Do some research, do something other than, try to saddle up next to the person who has a big old G for guilty. And I'm not saying he is, but man, sure looks like it. In my opinion, that Don knows a lot more than what he's saying. Having someone like that you're talking to me, is very insightful. It tells me a lot about you, and it's nothing good. It's nothing good at all. It's just really disgusting to me. And I really feel like they're trying to leverage everything and make it look like they care so much. You know what they care about? Their own damn pocket. That's what they care about. And that's disgusting. Now, for me, the thing that I want to bring up, because, if I could, and I can't, because I think you have to have at least 10,000 subs. I honestly don't remember. I looked it up a while back because I wanted to do this for something. But to have fundraisers on your channel, because there is a creator, Joshua Miles, I want to say it is, a true crime guy who tells stories, and he does a lot of fundraisers with stuff. Have a fundraiser, because you know what? Those children, those boys, and Summer, if she's still with us, they're going to need therapy. They need mental health professionals. There needs to be a fund for them to get that therapy, because what I worry about are those boys and what they saw their father do, and what they heard their father say, and what they heard their mother say, because they were raised pretty much in isolation on that house on Ben Hill Road. And they're thinking it's all normal. And I'm going to tell you, whatever the hell's going on in that house is the furthest thing from quote unquote normal, from what goes on in most homes. And horrifically, there's other homes that, also have horrible things going on. I cannot think of the child's name, but it was in California, and cat litter was found in his stomach. He was forced to eat cat litter. And that it's just horrifying. So there are some awful people out there. So we do not know what these children have been through. And what I worry about are these three boys being the next generation of committing SA. I'm not saying that they are. I'm not saying that they have. But if they're being raised by these two people who are addicts and involved in all this stuff, don't you think they would be picking things up? Because children learn by observation, That's one of the things that well, I'm a former classroom teacher as well. And I'd always teach my, kids when they would come to the classroom. I taught one of the things I taught was science. So I'm using that as kind of like my background right now. Is I would teach them basically where everything was in the classroom, how to behave in the classroom, just like everything what you do in the classroom. And a lot of the things ended up being from observation. Kids pick up from observing. So what did those boys see? What did those boys see Summer deal with? You know what I'm saying? That's what worries me. That's what worries me, is that there is the next generation that right now are in foster care. And I will say this, they're probably better off in foster care than they are on Ben Hill Road. And that's not normally what I would say about foster care. And there's a part of me that would like for somebody in the family, to step up. But I also worry about the family overall in general, I mean, hopefully there's some good people out there, but I'm very, very concerned about where will those boys end up and what will they learn? Because I don't want that to happen to them. Is it too late? Do you think it's too late for them? Or do you think that there's hope? Could they receive a lot of therapy? Because if I had a way to do a fundraiser for therapy for them, I certainly would. I'd put a video up for a fundraiser to get funds so that they could get the mental health care that they need, because I can assure you they need it, being in that home. Just imagine what it would be like. Imagine trying to go to sleep in that house and hearing your mother or father, yell obscenities at each other. Because in my mind, that happened normally. Or, Candus or Dawn, getting a pipe out and just smoking on up right there in front of the kids. How is that healthy? How is that right? None of it to me is. It's all completely wrong and disgusting. And they don't deserve to have 4 beautiful children or 3 beautiful children if Summer is no longer with us, but we don't know. But those boys definitely need mental health, and we need mental health care professionals willing to give them that kind of help. And I don't know, with kids being put into foster care, what kind of mental health care they do get, if they do have access to resources for that. But I am just hoping that something is available to them. And if you know, please let me know, because I think it's really important for us to consider what they need. I don't give a damn about Candace and Dawn. They can just rot in Ben Hill Road for all I care. I don't care if they ever eat again. I don't care if they ever sleep again. I don't care what happens to them because they're disgusting human beings. Now, I'm not advocating, for anybody to harm them, but I just don't care what happens to them. I just don't. I have lost it with those people because they are just horrible. That hoax, there's nothing funny about what they did. And to think that they thought that that was such a grand idea, what is wrong with them? What is wrong with the other people that they have had around them that their children have been subjected to? And oh, why would a grandmother be silent for so long? Why? She's just as bad as they are. It's like the whole lot of them. It's just not good. Now, I do hope Jeannie throws the book, whatever that is, at Dawn. I hope all of those women are able to come together and to file charges against Dawn because it needs to stop. It absolutely needs to stop. But I go back to those 3 boys. What is their behavior like? I mean, what were they taught? Were they taught how to tie their shoes? Were they taught to brush their teeth? Were they taught how to hold a knife and fork? Were they taught anything by those 2? Because they're nice looking kids and they deserve to have a good life. But how can anyone have a good life with a mother and father like Dawn and Candus? How could anyone have any kind of real joy in their life when their mother and father are doing nothing but getting drunk and getting stoned? It's just disgraceful. And I have said this, I think I said this on my last live stream. The problem with the Wells family, this is not an isolated incident like it's not happening elsewhere. This is a larger social problem that we have with poverty. And that's something that I hope someone can look at, with a larger lens. Because what else is going on in other homes? How can we prevent that as a society? What can we do to step in to save people from those situations? I think it does go back to available resources for mental health. Now, when I say resources, I don't mean people having the finances to be able to go pay for it. Maybe there need to be other clinics and things set up that people are aware of. Maybe there needs to be stronger partnerships with schools. I don't know. I'm not saying I have the answers, but I think these are conversations people need to have in light of what has gone on with this case, because we're seeing a lot of issues. And too much focus has been on these stinking creators that are interviewing these jerks and having them on there. And I'm not talking about Chris, okay? I'm not talking about him at all, because I think what he has done has been instrumental and helpful. But I'm talking about other people, who want to give these things, say like, oh, they are, innocent until proven guilty. Well, that may be true in a court of law, but as I look at them, there's so much guilt on so many things of what they have done because they have allowed their children to be living in conditions that are deplorable. My thoughts, my opinions. Yours could be different. But how do those boys unlearn whatever it is they observed? Do you think it's possible? And I'm going to just kind of put it out there for you guys. And I've been guilty of it myself, because those apologists that want to drip information in, from all these conversations they've had with Dawn, don't watch them. Don't give them the views. And most assuredly, okay, when the rumor was out that Dawn was arrested, you know what I did? A simple Google search. It was really pretty flippin' simple to be like, "Oh, this isn't picked up by, a news source? Huh. It can't be that's not right." If anything actually did happen, it would be out there with, regular media. We would hear it from people, but instead, no, creators started going, "Oh, let's done just a big old to do." And I know people are looking to get clicks, get views, and the sensational stuff sells. And when I say sells, I mean people will watch it. If it sounds sensational, they're all over it like a duck on a June bug, like white on rice. And that's what I'm saying to resist, because those apologists will do things to get you to, like, oh, they've got a little bit more info for you. You know who's going to have the most info is when we are able to get the discovery after there has been an arrest. And we may have to sit back and just hang tight and not, get all involved in this stuff. And I will say a channel that I have really enjoyed, and people, not everybody does, True Crime Rocket Science. I love how Nick is very analytical in his approach. And I feel that what he does provides a lot of value because he's not playing into the drama of all this crap, you know? Because this is real life. And that's why I've tried to talk about some things other than what has been going on. And that's why right now my focus is we need something for those boys. We need something for their mental health. I don't know how to do it, but they are the ones who need help. We know where they are. They're in foster care right now. Who cares about Don and Candus? Screw them. Those boys need help. Don and Candace just go smoke it out, drink themselves silly. I don't care. I don't want to hear from them anymore. The only thing I want to hear is that there's been an arrest and we know where Summer is and that those boys are safe and they're getting therapy. That's what I care about. Those two, no, not so much. Don't care. Don't care. It's a tragedy that they have had the lives they have had and they've ended up where they are. But now is the time to focus on those kids and what they need and to provide something for them and to stop giving people who are just looking to spoon feed you little tidbits about Dawn or Candace. Screw Dawn and Candace. Screw them. They can both take a flying leap. I don't care. I just don't care. They're despicable. And AJ, you're right. It's all clickbait. Yeah. Now, we don't know why Summer is missing. And, we can all sit around and conjecture about it. But is that going to do any good of coming up with these wild ass theories? That doesn't bring her home anymore. But what we can do is figure out, and maybe I will look into it if I have time, of what kind of mental help there can be for these boys. They need help because we don't want to hear about this again in 10, 20 years, that the sons of Don Wells have committed the sins of the father. We don't want to hear about that. We do not want other little girls and little boys going through what these children have been through. That's, in my opinion, what our focus should be on, is saving them the best way we can. So please, please, when you hear about these little drips of information, put it on ignore. Their bullshit is just that. It's bullshit so they get more views and they get more subs and they continue to grow. And I'm not saying I don't want channels to grow. I do. But when you do it in such a underhanded and dishonest type way, I just don't have time for it, I just can't watch them and think like, oh, because I feel like I'm feeding the fire if I keep doing that. And if you keep doing it, you are too. Stop feeding it. Just stop. Because there are some channels out there that are doing some good things. Plunder is another one that I really enjoy a lot. And, it's up to you. You're an adult. You can decide what creator you watch, But realize your choice has an impact, because that choice can also amplify Dawn's voice. Because I've heard, and I don't know who it is, and I don't care to know, that apparently he is, or allegedly, supposedly, he's kind of like, gotten acquainted with another couple. And the last thing I want to do is hear more BS come out of that man's mouth. All he does is spew lies. There's nothing that you can believe that comes out of his mouth, him or Candus. I am more inclined to believe Hunter's timeline of events than I am Don or Candus of any of the stuff that they said. Because, when Chris interviewed Candus, I mean, she was cleaned up and you could actually understand her and stuff. But I'm like, you know what? Now with all this hoax and all this stuff, I look at that, I'm like, it just feels like it was all a ploy. It was all pretend. And we've seen their real colors. We've seen in her, well, I mean, okay, when I say seen, we've heard from the phone calls, Dawn cussing and blaming Jeannie. Jeannie was 5 years old. I was 3 years old when it started happening to me. 3 to 5 years old, 7 years old. You're not the one making that decision. There's someone else making that decision. And all this stuff is thrust upon you. So, I mean, he can just take that and put it in a sack and throw it away. It's a big old bucket of hooey. And anyone who is going to believe that it's anyone's fault other than Dawn's, then I don't know what to tell you. I guess I've got some swampland I can sell you or something, because it's just not true. Now, is Dawn a victim? Most likely, yes. But I really don't care anymore. Not after this hoax stuff. I do not care. I just don't. I do not care. I care that his children, his 3 boys, get help. They need help. They need support. They don't have a loving family around them. Now, I'm hoping that whoever they're with is giving them some love and attention that they didn't have in their own home. That's what I hope is going on, because they deserve it. Dawn and Candus do not deserve having a light shining on them. And I kind of wonder, and maybe I don't know if you've thought about this at all, but I kind of feel like Dawn has chased the limelight, because he sure as hell came out real quick, being all pious and everything to the news team, and about him being such a good person and such a Christian. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. He sure, got out there and was the front person. And he sure was the person out there getting interviews, and be it on the phone or, video. He sure as heck got his, narrative out there. And he's been trying to control it from jump. So I kind of wonder, has he always, I mean, I'm talking about like way before Summer ever disappeared, has he always kind of sought attention in some way? Because he seems like an attention hound to me, someone who's just like really looking for people to pay attention to him. Maybe that's that narcissistic aspect of his personality. I don't know. But like I said, my concern is those boys and Summer, because we don't know where she is. We don't know if we'll find her alive or otherwise. I'm really not thinking that this was all, a planned hoax, because again, they'd have to be really slick and really smart to have planned this and to know that it would have been picked up, because you never know with a crime if it is going to become something that, gets a spotlight. You just don't know. So you can't just like do something, then expect, oh, everybody's going to pay attention to it. Because it's not the case. Because right now we have also Michael. He goes by Monkey. I can't think of his last name. And I think he was in Idaho. And he's also, I believe, 5, who disappeared about a month or so after summer. And we don't have as much, many people covering that as we do the Summer Wells case. You never know when a case is going to grab the hearts of people, but Summers has. The people that we don't need to pay attention to are Don and Candus. And we don't need to pay attention to any creators who are giving them airtime, in my opinion. And our focus needs to be on how can those children, those 3 boys, how can they be helped? Are they getting help? Can we do anything to ensure that they are getting help and that we're not going to hear about them committing the sins of their fathers? We don't know. But I'll see if I can, look into what kind of mental health is provided. And it may take me a while because, I do work. I'm not one of those people doing, YouTube full time. And I'm also in the middle of, I'm actually editing a video about another person who was, quote unquote, a top Hunbot in a particular multi-level marketing company. This one is I Am Academy, and I've made some videos on that one. So that should be coming out sometime this week. And after that, I have a missing person case. It's a cold case. And I'm really hoping, I contacted someone who has been closely involved in the case. And I told them about the Cold Case Foundation that, Chris has mentioned. Because I'm like, if anyone can help, I think that foundation can help, because the mother of this person who was killed is no longer with us. And so there's just like a lot of things kind of hanging out there. So I'm in the middle of doing research on that story and hoping that somehow something can help. Because one of the things I don't want to have happen, I don't want Summer's case to go cold and for us to be talking about Summer Wells in 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years, because the cold case I'm working on is nearly 30 years old. Imagine being involved in something like that was your friend, and they're just like, now they're gone, and you don't know what happened to them or why. You think, I don't want that to happen with Summer. I hope that we can find, like, somebody is pinned, they're arrested, and we get closure, and those boys get help. Okay, I think I've covered in, I'm just kind of looking over my notes about everything that I wanted to say. Thank you so much for jumping on here and listening to my thoughts and opinions about this. And if you know how these boys can get, the mental help that they need, because they need those mental health care providers helping them through this, let me know, because they are the ones that I think we should be concerned about, not Dawn, not Candus. Screw them. They don't matter anymore, or Grandis, any of those people. And we do know help with Jeannie, Mary, Trish, and the other people. They need help as well. And there's resources for them. And I'm pretty sure that Chris has put them in touch, with resources. And AJ, you're welcome. Thank you very much for spending time with me. And I'm going to get down on the go-go. And tonight there's another Walking Dead episode, if I can talk, which I'm excited about. I love The Walking Dead. And until next time, have a wonderful day, and remember, you're beautiful and I love you.